everybody who's already jumping in on the call here. It's easy to tell who the people are who are on time to their classes in school. We are taking attendance.
Yeah, and so we'll go ahead and actually we have a quick poll for people as they start to kind of roll in. We'll launch like an official poll, but even just in the chat right now, for some of those people who are joining, if you've got your coffee, you've got your water all situated, and you want to get started, if you want to just post in the chat, does your nonprofit currently have a recurring giving program? And if yes, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, let us know, and also feel free to let us know where you're joining us from today. Several of us presenting from Community Boost and Fundraise Up are on opposite sides of the coast,
Sure.
From California to New York City. So again, in the chat, let us know about the recurring giving program that you might have already, and let us know where you're joining us from. Awesome. Looks like we have somebody joining us from Texas today. Fantastic. Welcome.
Thanks, Julia, for getting it started there in the chat. Appreciate it. Awesome. So
New York City.
Rebecca with 75,000 monthly donors.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. Awesome, Rebecca. Yeah, you'll be excited to have you here and potentially be able to contribute to the conversation too. Oh, Loaves and Fishes. Hey, good to see you, Melinda. You're a current partner with Community Boost. That's so awesome.
Nashville, Tennessee, welcome. Omaha, Nebraska, awesome, welcome. Atlanta, Georgia, Fort Worth.
Perfect. That's great. It sounds just like initially like we have kind of different experience levels and even, like where traction, like where things are at with your nonprofits currently. Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Perfect.
Welcome.
Where are my West Coasters at? That's what I want to know. It's too early for the West Coast over here, probably.
Yeah, everyone from the West Coast is still getting their coffee ready.
Yeah, true. Awesome. Well, I'll give people just another few minutes here, but we've got some good responses in the chat on kind of like where some of the recurring giving programs are at. I wanted to just launch a poll really quickly that is gonna help us tailor this presentation a bit more. If there's a clear kind of camp where people are sitting in, we'll take of course, the opportunity to tailor things a bit more. So just wanted to put that actual poll of type of recurring giving program is your nonprofit looking to work with here. Oh, wait, I might have launched the wrong poll here. Let me see. So just totally candid, this is my first time running a webinar. So I think I can do this here though. So relaunching the poll. Awesome. So you should see a poll of what type of recurring giving program is your organization like ready for or looking to step into and really learning more about today.
And what we'll do is we're asking you this question now, and we're going to use it as a temperature gauge. And by the end of the presentation, we're going to circle back and see what you think you're ready for. So you might find that your answer now might be different from how you answer at the end.
Absolutely. Okay, this is good. So give people just a couple more seconds to answer here. It's pretty even. So I don't know, I forget if you can all see the polling breakdown response, but it's about 58% ready to build out a light recurring giving program and 42% to build out a robust best-in-class one. And nobody saying they aren't ready to build out a program, which is awesome. So you came to the right webinar. That was kind of like the answer on the multiple choice test that you're supposed to not put. So good job. And the presentation today, the webinar we're going to walk through is tailored to both camps. And so we'll spend good time on both. And I think there's efficiencies you can kind of learn as we talk through them both. So I'll end this one.
Absolutely.
Thanks to everyone who input. There'll be a couple other polls throughout this as well. So beautiful. Let's go ahead and jump in. We might have some other people trickle in, but let's get started. So as you guys know, hopefully from being in previous webinars, if you have questions during, there may be some questions that we'll pause and actually take, but there's a Q&A chat window And if there are specific questions you want us to take time on, we will absolutely address them at the end. Probably we'll try not to stop too much during the presentation to take questions, but please share them there. And then Community Boost has a digital marketing for nonprofits Facebook group that has a lot, like nonprofit leaders from a lot of different sectors that collaborate to solve each other's digital marketing needs. And then Nick, if you want to share about the group that you guys have.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, thank you again to everybody who's joined us this morning. And we want to make sure that you always have the resources that you need at your disposal. So we do have that fantastic digital marketing for nonprofits Facebook group. And then from Fundraise Up, we have our Fundraise Up community discussion group. And that's over on LinkedIn. And what we'll do is we'll send you links to both of these groups following today's presentation. And again, these are great ways for you not only to engage with Fundraise Up and Community Boost, but to engage with each other and see what different nonprofits are doing.
Absolutely. So yeah, as Nick said, we'll send that out with links to those groups if you're interested after this is over, so you can stay connected. And then, yeah, just quickly introducing ourselves. I can go first. So my name is Michael Goodrum. I work at Community Boost. We'll share just very briefly what Community Boost is in a second, but I'm the director of our client service team, and then also one of our senior consultants that works directly with some of our nonprofit partners.
And my name is Nick Miller. I am the Director of Partnerships over at Fundraise Up. We are based in beautiful Brooklyn, New York. It's really hot over there right now. I'm actually over here in Portland, Oregon today, so enjoying slightly less humid weather. And you'll see by my headshot there that is my pre-COVID-19 haircut. I'm sure there are many of you in this call that have similar circumstances, but we're so glad that you're able to join us, and let's get started.
Definitely, yeah, and that's my pre-COVID haircut too. Not just like sweeping it all to the side and hoping for the best. But yeah, so for those of you, and it sounds like we do have a couple of our current partners on this call. Thank you so much for joining us. But for those who don't know us, we are a digital marketing agency based out of San Diego, California, that works exclusively with nonprofits. So last year we served 186 on the digital marketing front, and from just what we were able to directly measure, brought in over $7.5 million in purely online giving donations. I'm not mentioning, the other things like email subscribers, all that other stuff that is generated. And we work with some nonprofits like Save the Children, USA Basketball, All Hands and Hearts, Humane Society, kind of like all across the globe, or all across the map, from local grassroots organizations to international.
And again, I'm from Fundraise Up. We have created the most individualized online donation platform there is, which leads to better donations from happier donors. Like Michael said, just looking from our attendees, we have some existing customers with us. Welcome. And hopefully some of you who are not yet customers after today's presentation will seek to work with Community Boost, who's a partner of ours, to roll out Fundraise Up to your website. Now, here's a really cool number that I'm going to share with you now, and as we dive deeper into today's presentation, you'll start to see how Michael and I unpack this. So behind our platform is science, psychology, and magic. And in the context of a recurring giving program, we've already found that can lead to a 276% increase in a donor's 12-month value. And again, that's all based on science, psychology, and a little sprinkling of magic. I won't spoil too much of it right now, but I do want to walk you through our top 5 takeaways for today. So take a look at them here. If you are a note taker like I am, I'm sure you'll jot some of these down, but these are the 5 main areas that we're going to cover today. We have plenty of slides to get through, and so if you did come with your notepad, you might want to have another one handy, because there's a lot of phenomenal content that we're going to dive into now. So Michael, can you tell us a little bit more about what a recurring giving program is?
Absolutely. So I think everyone on this call is aware of what a recurring giving program is, but just to kind of like create some context, it is more than simply having a recurring giving checkbox on your donation form, right? It's a themed, almost like community feel aspect, designed to, of course, have people give monthly, but also have somebody feel like they're part of something larger that is solving a specific measurable problem. So today will, of course, I think for a lot of people here, the spring program from Charity Water is a very iconic one that we think of. We'll take a look at some of those more robust, built-out ones, but also kind of like really make sure we clearly define the different ways that a recurring giving program could show up. And in terms of, so that was the what. In terms of the why, why should we do a recurring giving program? I think at a high level, creating more predictability in our online revenue, creating more sustainability and certainty around programming that we want to launch that can impact our missions, is what recurring giving programs do for us. And then just some numbers, of course, about a 500% increase in total lifetime donor value, and that is including donors that give predictably they give once a year, but they're not in an actual program. And then about a 40 to 50% increase in a donor's retention rate over that lifetime. So it's, the numbers don't lie. We had a chance to chat with Tyler Rewer from Charity Water. We did an event with them in New York last year, and he said his number one regret as their creative director was not starting one of these programs sooner, just because of the impact it's had on their revenues predictability at Charity Water. And so, of course, like the why sounds great, right? Like massive increases to donor retention and lifetime value, but everyone here today is here to learn about the how. And so we want to definitely deliver that. We're going to first talk about how to build the program. So we have to have something in place to actually market, share, and get feedback on. We'll talk about that. And then two, of course, how to actually bring it to market, how to launch. I don't want to give it all away. We'll get there. Beautiful. So I'll turn it back to Nick to dive in here.
So in part one, we're talking about building your effective recurring program. And so let's dive in and take a look at how we can scale these different programs. And this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, we're really looking at this in two lanes, a robust program and a light program. And already from the comments and the polls that we've taken, we're starting to get an idea of where you are, and maybe you're starting to understand where others are as well. So a robust program is the ultimate dream. That is where we want to take ourselves as a nonprofit, right? We want it to be themed. We want to have those impact metrics on hand and marketed to our existing and future donors. We're using landing pages. We are integrating multimedia like video, and we have content that's tailored specifically to our recurring donor audience. And so you'll see this list and you might start reading it, and maybe your blood pressure rises a little bit because you're thinking, I don't know that I can do this. I don't know that our nonprofit is ready for this. Or like many nonprofits, you're looking around your office and you're saying there's 3 of us max that are dedicated to fulfilling the mission of our organization, and we just don't have time for this. And that's okay, because the whole purpose of what we're sharing with you today is to demonstrate that there's a scale to this. Yeah. You're not either stuck with having to do just a robust program or just a light program, but if you find yourself needing to get started, we can do that starting today. And so if you look at some of these bullet points under light here on the right hand of the screen, you can see that you can get started by theming it, and you can still get those impact metrics even though you're not yet moving to a robust style program. You can still use your landing pages and have fantastic support to put that together. So let's take a second to visualize what the difference can look like between a robust and light program. So what you'll see here are a few screenshots that we've taken, and you might see some recognizable names on here. For example, we have Charity Water. And larger organizations that have built their recurring giving programs out over time have gotten the program to a place where they're creating content that's specific to the recurring donors. And it's really important audience to focus on, because as we've already seen from some of our first slides, there's incredible value that you can get from those recurring donors. So Charity Water, for example, has some customized media that they send out, customized newsletters, and also they use this really fantastic map that you can see. That's that screenshot in the lower right hand of the screen. And so again, this is where we want all nonprofits to be. This is where you want to be. You want to get to the place where your recurring donors feel incredibly special because they're taking an extra step and they're supporting you every month, maybe every 2 weeks, depending on how you have your recurring program set up. I know Michael's gonna walk us through on the next slide what it can look like to get started with a light program and still see incredible impact.
Yeah, and while we're here too, just want to sort of sum up add more to what Nick has shared. It's really the robust is further defined by the community feel that your
Absolutely.
nonprofit is able to give the program. And so Pencils of Promise and Charity Water in these examples do it in slightly different ways, but they both add very unique elements to the back end that require admin, right? It requires maintenance from within their nonprofits. And if you were going to run this from within yours, to deliver content that is exclusive, but also still create enough content that your general marketing efforts are supported too. And so taking a look at a light program, this is a nonprofit that I just had a meeting with them yesterday. We work really closely together. They're called Souls for Souls. And we began work together actually just a year ago. We hit our first year anniversary, and they had just launched Step Up. So it's a program where you can donate $30 a day. $1 provides a person in extreme poverty with a pair of shoes. They have it themed. They have impact metrics tied, right? $1 gives someone a pair of shoes. 30 kids get a pair of shoes each month from you. They did take the extra step of creating a campaign video for this, of creating a video specifically promoting monthly giving. So on that spectrum, as Nick was referring to, between robust and light, they're one step closer to robust, but I would still consider this very light. They don't have a specific community. There's not content being created just for them. There's no gifts, anything like that, but you still do feel like you're part of a themed kind of tight-knit group, which is what we want to go for when we're talking light. So just wanted to share some numbers with you guys too, because we're privy to them as we run a whole lot of their marketing around this program. So to date, we've spent just under $8,000 in ad spend. We've had 128 total activated users. So this started about August of last year, and it's been pretty inconsistent with when we've chosen to put the gas on due to COVID, due to all the current conversations, and it went through year end as well. So anyways, had 128 total people activate, 17 have canceled so far. Again, it's about a year it's been running. So we have an 86%, almost 87% retention rate, which is really high for a recurring giving program's launch. We've had a total of 21K donated to date. And then right now, with where they're at, this was pulled a week ago, they're at about 2,600 in current monthly recurring revenue. So if we just look at the spend, right, versus this, it's taken only 3 months to recoup this. And now this is an asset that will continue paying for itself as we move forward, even if we didn't do more marketing around it, which we absolutely plan to. And so I'm going to just do another quick poll here, thinking through which type of recurring giving program is your organization ready for? Based kind of like on what we just took a look at, where would you think your organization is ready to play at?
And as you take a second to answer this poll, I did see a question come in our chat asking if the PowerPoint will be available after the webinar, and we will have these resources. We'll send these resources to you, including a recording of today's presentation following the webinar.
Sure. And I can't reiterate enough what Nick said about, the dream, of course, is this robust program. But while you're looking to ultimately achieve that, that doesn't mean it has to prevent you from getting started today or in the near future. Awesome. Thanks, Lucas. I'm glad you feel like it's clutch. I feel like it's clutch too. Great. So we've got about 60% of people. Some people are a little shy or not seeing the poll or something like that. But we actually have a pretty stark percentage now shift. That's interesting. Just from a few slides, we have about 72% of people saying going with the lighter lift recurring program versus about 28% for the more robust in terms of what we think we're capable of doing now. Cool. So I'll go ahead and end the poll. And so sharing these results here, cool. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to more about the how does this break down? So we talked about the kind of like the technical aspects of what make up a recurring giving program, but I'm going to pass it back to Nick, who's going to talk about the sort of like the structure, the content, the tougher to not the less tangible pieces of it.
That's right. So if you're feeling like this is a lot to chew, it's a lot to jump into, let me tell you where everybody can start. Even the most simple programs and the largest programs all begin with a story. And everybody has a story to tell, right? Whether you're an animal shelter or your organization is dedicated to combating homelessness, there is a story that you can tell. And it's unique to your organization. So let's look at a few hallmarks of what your story can have as part of it. So your story has these 4 elements to it. And again, any organization has a unique story to tell. So you have a compelling story, you have a creative story, you have a concise story, and you have an original story. In fact, you have a story that's unique to you, and by telling that story, you immerse your donors in the mission of your organization. And that's where this all begins. Again, whether you have a large program today or you're looking to get started with a small program, your story sits as the centerpiece of bringing people into your organization. And so I'd love to see in the comments, let's just do a quick temperature test. See, do you feel like you have a story to tell today that you can tell to somebody that you encounter on the street? And just say yes or no, and just add it into the chat there. And we'll see. Fantastic. We're already getting some responses here. We have people saying, yes, we do have that story. Some people are saying, no, we don't yet have that story. And again, here's what's great about what we're sharing with you today. We're not just sharing with you best practices and saying, good luck, go out and do this on your own. Fundraise Up partners with organizations like Community Boost to help you accomplish the goal of telling your story. And so if you have a story today, they'll help you tell it better. If you don't yet have a story, they'll help you craft it. And so once you've put that story together, there's a really important component that we need to attach to it. We have to make it easy for people to give. And that's actually one of the reasons that we created our fundraising platform, is because we recognized that there were roadblocks getting in the way of people making their donation to organizations and charities that they care about. And what some people don't yet understand is that you can integrate your storytelling and the way for people to give into every channel. And so maybe today you're only comfortable with direct mail, or you've only ever sent emails out of MailChimp, or you just send text messages. Well, these are all perfect ways to invite people into your story and make it easy for them to give. And so you can use something like a bit.ly link that links to your recurring donation page on your website. You can use a QR code on a direct mail piece that people can scan with their phone. And by the way, free tip, if you didn't already know this, all popular smartphones now have the ability to read that QR code directly from the camera app. So it's a really fantastic way to make it easy for people to give and drive them to the landing page on your website where they can make their recurring gift. And now there's another really important component to this that has to do with showing evidence of support. And maybe you've encountered something like a GoFundMe page where you're one of the first people to visit the page, right? And so it says goal $100,000 and the current donations are 0, right? And you feel a little bit of hesitation about showing your support because you're not seeing it from other people. But these tools can also be incredibly powerful for demonstrating that people are engaged. So when you come back to that page and see that 50% of people have helped fulfill that goal, that's powerful information, and it in many ways will inspire you to want to give. When you see a donor wall where you see the list of names of people who have given, and maybe you even recognize some of the names, that might inspire you to be a part of the recurring giving program. And there might also be testimonials and other visual elements and impact maps like what we saw with Charity Water a few slides ago that help engage people. And another important thing that can be easy to forget in your recurring giving program is to say thank you. And there's a lot of unique ways in which you can say thank you, whether it's a personalized email, an SMS, a text message, or a video thank you. And again, we work with partners like Community Boost to help you achieve those things. But creating that story, finding your story, wrapping it up in a compelling, creative, concise, and an original way, and then making it easy for people to give is incredibly important. And this is only possible if you're using tools that work well for you. So we say only use tools that help you succeed. And I'm sure many of you have used software that at the end of the day, you just want to pull out your hair, right? Because it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that. And you try to ask for help from the company and you don't get a phone call back, or you have to use their chat and it's harder to describe the issue you're experiencing through chat. So here are a few ideas that we've put on the slide for things that you want as part of your recurring giving program and the tool set. So you need good support. You need the company to be on your side. You need automation as part of your workflow. Somebody earlier in the comments shared with us that they have thousands of recurring donors. And so if you imagine one person having to manually address every single one of those recurring donors and their donations, it would be almost impossible. You would be taken away from fulfilling your mission and be stuck with just working on the transactional work. So make sure that the process can be automatic. Make sure that they're automatically getting receipts and that the credit card system will automatically try to find a card that's expired, and make sure that the donor can log into some sort of donor portal to manage the recurring gift. These are all important aspects of finding a tool that works well for you. And it might seem almost inconsequential at first. And you'll say, oh, well, we've been using this tool for forever and it's just how we do things. But at the end of the day, and especially as you scale your program from something small to something much larger, you need to have this type of support with you. So we've talked a little bit about how you craft this story and how you make it easier for people to give and how you can show evidence of their giving and how you should use tools that work well for you. And now what we're going to do is focus on taking what you build and marketing it to your donors and then scaling it for your different audiences.
Yeah, exactly, Nick. Thank you so much. And so again, thinking back to the phases of how this would naturally go, right? We're gonna first kind of get clear on the resources that we have and the kind of program that might be best for where we're at now, keeping in mind where we want to go. So it's like maybe this is a month or 2 months from now is when we're ready to start marketing it after your team's kind of taken some of the information from here and gone and built the foundation for it. And let's be honest, we Community Boost comes in touch with a lot of nonprofits as this fundraise up, and for the majority, it's not that there's not a strong story, and it's not that there's not great creative. Those usually exist, and if not, it's just a couple, some tweaks here and there to bring them into where they need to be. But the main issue is getting enough eyeballs, enough of the right people's eyeballs on it, and at the right times. And we use a word here called traction to talk about generating the kinds of results that we're looking for from a campaign that we've launched. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that we put the right kind of momentum and traction behind this program that we've built? So we're going to kind of like reverse the classic pyramid here. So usually we'd like go bottom up, but today we're going to go top down. So when we think through the launch sequence of an initial recurring giving program, even if it's on the lighter side, we want to first test with personal conversations with our core supporters. So we may have some people, I'm assuming, from the development here. If not, you'll want to make sure you connect with those on your development team to get a better sense of who could we reach out to. It's like gathering primary data as a researcher. So ideally you've got some frameworks like the landing page is created. If you're going to shoot a video, you've done that, clear on different kinds of impact metrics. And guys, it's likely that there will be some disagreements between your teams about what will and won't work the best. And what we're trying to get to the bottom of by tiering this campaign out is by having people actually vote with their clicks, their opinions, and their wallets to have your audience decide which program and like way to frame your recurring giving program will be best before you try to make appeals to the bottom, which is going to be all of those new donors. You know, we don't have a poll here, but I would imagine from just like a simple guess that a lot of us, of course, we want to convert more of our existing core supporters, are, you know, those people that have attended events, that have given to us once, maybe they've lapsed, or even just our single time donors. We would love to turn them into recurring givers through a program. But I think many people here are really hoping to eventually get to full new donor acquisition and conversion into recurring givers. So we're going to kind of focus on all three levels here, and how do we do that? So at first, testing this messaging with your core supporters. So thinking back to the spectrum, right? So if we have what are the things that the programs have in common? They've got a theme, something that is tied to your story, right? Something that makes sense in the context of what your nonprofit does. We have clear impact metrics. So if you're giving X amount every month, what does that create in the world, right? And maybe it adds up to something that happens over a year-long basis, but we're so used to, I mean, we're even more online now in quarantine than we were, right? Where we're so used to knowing if I spend this much money on X, I get this thing, whatever it is. And it's true for us in nonprofits too. So whatever those elements are that you're not sure of at scale, what will resonate most, literally ask some of these core supporters who get your mission. And you know, it's like, you already give to us consistently, but if you didn't, which of these would resonate most with you? We have tools that we can recommend. This is a bigger conversation in terms of the tech, which Nick was talking a lot earlier too. The reason he didn't get into too many specifics is because there's so many options based on what your nonprofit needs, which is a conversation we're happy to have. That is just more effective one-on-one. But we definitely recommend, there's ways to do like text-only emails that can blast people. But honestly, for these core supporters, picking up the phone and calling them, or having like a face-to-face. If you've got landing pages or visual things on your site to show them, just polling them directly and asking them for some of their time. So the next step down, right, that middle one, we've gotten a little bit more alignment from those people who really we're really close with. But now let's bring it out to a slightly wider audience to get more feedback before we take it all the way to market. So what we recommend strongly is actually, if there's any kind of disagreement or uncertainty about what elements would really be best for your recurring giving program, how do we frame it, etc., you can actually build 2 different landing pages and 2 different, completely different like campaigns, emails that introduce it in different ways, things like that. Unless you're 100% certain that you've nailed what you know, the perfect recurring giving program for your nonprofit, highly recommend doing some of this A/B testing, and then monitoring from those pages, which literally result in more of your audience becoming recurring donors. So email is a great way to initiate that, right? You can split the list of people, send links to 2 different pages out to those people. It doesn't get easier than that. Organic social, a little bit tougher here. You know, you're not really controlling the audience as much. Facebook doesn't give you a way to say, or, you know, the Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, to say, show this to half, show this to the other half. But what you can do is you can set up a link that then diverts to 2 different landing pages. So it's one link for the social post. People will still, for the most part, filter out 50-50. And then, of course, peer-to-peer empowerment, so those that are close in your network. And then we also use conversion design elements on our site. So those are things like pop-ups, smart bars, things that aren't overly intrusive, that are well designed, that look nice, that take people who are just visiting our website to explore the recurring giving program while we're in this kind of beta phase. So enough just like talk, let's talk some real examples. So this is another nonprofit I work directly with. They're called the Citizens Foundation United States. They help put children who would otherwise be on the streets into school where they're receiving a quality education in Pakistan specifically. So we were helping them launch what's called the Sustaining Member Program, which was their first recurring giving program. And there was a lot of debate on what should the impact levels be? What should the benefits of becoming a recurring sustaining member be? What's the best background image for this page, right? What's the best way to frame this? Quality education is the right of every child, or education is every child's right. It's like all of these things that before we spent tens of thousands of dollars marketing it, right? We wanted to get validation from first core supporters, but then we had, you know, the plan is to send this out to their entire list with these different pages and let those who were not already recurring givers show us with their vote of becoming or not becoming which program resonated most. And then keep in mind too, I think this is a cool example of naming as well. So for them, their audience is really pragmatic. I don't know how everyone here feels, but to me, sustaining member program was not the most interesting name. But for their audience, it really worked. And so it's not just, it is absolutely what Nick said earlier about thinking through your story and everything like that, and how does that tie to the theme, but also what is, like, are your donors more pragmatic? Are they more emotional focused? Do they respond better to statistics, or do they respond better to stories and testimonials? So just thinking through that. And then the one that, again, it's an assumption, but I think that many of us are here for, is that new donor acquisition and conversion into recurring givers. Because eventually, right, that pool of people that already follow you, even if you're a large nonprofit, does start to get smaller as you share this message. And so ultimately, we want some kind of strategy for bringing this to the full market. And so a lot of this playbook is what, a lot of people who have followed our content, followed some of Fundraise Up's content, it's similar playbooks on how we want to do digital marketing to bring in new donors. So with social media marketing, it is becoming more pay to play, just straight up on majority of these platforms, but great content does still generate virality and will put yourself in front of new people. Volume is always better than perfection. And honestly, especially in today's world where so many things look so nice, sometimes picking up a video and recording a Facebook Live or just a quick video on your phone has it feel even more authentic. You absolutely want to hashtag everything that's going out about your recurring giving program so you can monitor response to it. But also just to create more of a theme around it, this hashtag will very likely just be the name of your program. Of course, using micro influencers. So if some of those core supporters, or maybe you have a core supporter who more often lends their network than their wallet, tapping some of those people as well to expand reach of key posts as you launch this program. And then of course, using stories to go live. That makes sure that literally everybody who follows you gets notified, which is pretty awesome. But then of course, we all have different size audiences on these social platforms, right? And even if we have 6 figures of followers on Facebook and Instagram, the way that their algorithm has changed over the past few years, it's just become fewer people in your audience are going to see your posts, unless you boost them, unless you run ads, right? So thinking through how we wanted to create an ad strategy is big. On the right-hand side here, you can see some of the first ads that we actually ran for that Step Up program from Souls for Souls we talked about earlier today. These were some of the ones that converted the most recurring donors as well. And so kind of thinking through, like, how do we want to tier our budget out? So we do want to run some of this creative to people in our own audience, right? Those emails that you send out to your list, and it's split 50-50 potentially, not everyone's going to open them. Open rates are lower than they ever have been. They get lower every year. Email's still an extremely effective channel. I'm not trying to say that whatsoever, but if you want to saturate everyone, make sure that they're seeing this opportunity, showing this to some of those people directly through Facebook, remarketing, showing it to friends of people that follow, or friends of people that follow you, and then of course doing that expansion, taking the information from what your audience resonates with and putting that into the campaigns you're running to new interest audiences, to lookalikes. With Souls for Souls, we discovered that unfortunately, pictures of broken shoes, feet that are beat up, did perform better. We would love for it to be more positive focused imagery, or exclusively positive focused imagery. But we took that information from these first couple tiers, and that had our interest and new donor acquisition be a lot more successful. Remarketing is huge, right? Of course, we kind of talked about that. For those people seeing your emails, maybe not reading them fully, this helps keep this opportunity top of mind. And then straight up, we typically see, and we shared a case study earlier, every month that goes by after we've run this campaign, the return on ad spend grows even further. It's very profitable. It's a very profitable channel. And then, so talking maybe a little bit less direct, but still ways to promote this program. Google Display is a phenomenal way for very low investment, keep your program top of mind and visible for people who are in the decision-making process. So these kind of the 3 surrounding this YouTube video here are all examples of display ads where it's really great, guys. You preload creative, so you can preload up to 5 headlines, up to 5 images, or I think it's 5 to 10 images, and then 5 descriptions, and Google will test different combinations around the web for you. And the cool thing is they'll feed back, hey, this headline resonates with the most people. This description resonates with the most people. And you can take that to further improve other marketing around your recurring giving program. It's great for remarketing, right? Someone's thinking about it. They may not have pulled the trigger yet. You can stay top of mind. YouTube advertising, let's be honest, commercials are becoming less and less a thing currently today, right? They're a bit of a dinosaur in a way. There's still, of course, those on Hulu and when we watch the Super Bowl, and I'm sure we still have a lot of people that watch cable here, but one of the most certain ways to get your video creative in front of the right people is YouTube ads, period. It's wild, you guys. Like, for those that don't know, you literally don't pay unless someone watches up to 30 seconds of a video that is, you know, of a length that would make sense, so about 1.5 to 2 minutes. If they don't watch at least the first 30 seconds and they skip it, you don't even pay. So it's wild. We're typically getting about paying about 10 cents to have someone watch 100% of a campaign video directly promoting Step Up, which is, you know, that's a price we're very willing to pay. And then on Google Ad Grants is something that we do thoroughly here at Community Boost. It's free ad spend from Google to run search ads about your nonprofit. It's one of the best ways to every single month introduce thousands of new mission-aligned potential donors to your site, which you can then add to remarketing lists in all these channels we talked about so far. That was a ton of information. So of course, I do want to reiterate, like, we are very happy to, after this, set up some time to talk about your specific nonprofit, where they're at, because these things do work at scale as a playbook, but the way that they kind of like niche into each of you specifically will of course be unique. And then the last one here is peer-to-peer engagement. So when you've really felt clear, we have the right program, we've had input from key decision makers, we've opened it up to the broader audience. I really hope you all, even thinking about the light version, are willing to take the extra steps to do that A/B test. You'll learn so much about what really resonates. You've done all that. Now time to engage the peer-to-peer if possible too, right? And so engaging those core supporters to text, email, call, setting them up with templates for those emails, text templates, scripts to call if they need it. Just overload them with resources so that kind of network reach out can be more effective. And then this is kind of starting to get into that realm of community management, but you know, a Facebook group is pretty simple to start. It's somewhat simple to admin, at least at first. And then eventually the idea, right, is with a Facebook group, it gets to the point where your community is almost running it on your behalf. But yeah. So again, we kind of took this poll earlier. I think we might have jumped the gun on it a bit, but I am curious, after learning more now about the timeline, the marketing, the different kinds of recurring giving programs that are possible to run, what type of program are you thinking is feasible for where you're at now? And I certainly did run that poll earlier. Okay, well, we're just going to relaunch it, and I appreciate everyone who answers twice. That's very kind of you.
And again, this is a good time to jump into this poll again, because for many of you, you've just learned new information. Maybe you've never thought about using Facebook and Instagram ads. Maybe you've never heard of the Google Ad Grant or displaying ads on YouTube. So with all of that in mind, take that into consideration as you answer this poll. And once you respond to the poll, I'd also love to see in the comments what types of advertising platforms that you're using with your nonprofit.
Yeah.
And again, whether it's Google Ad Grants or YouTube display ads, you're doing something with peer-to-peer, Facebook or Instagram, just drop it into the chat there. We'd love to see it.
That's a great idea, Nick. Alrighty, so yeah, it's pretty similar ratios to where we were before. Just a lot of people on looking towards starting light, at least lower lifts, but still about a fifth saying, let's go. We want to do the full-blown robust program, and then just a handful of people saying we're not actually ready to build the program out yet after some of the information today. Cool.
So we're getting some responses here in the chat also about what people are using. We're seeing peer-to-peer, Facebook. We do have some people already using Google Ads. Phenomenal. Some people are doing A/B tests already. That's fantastic. And by the way, it's important to note that any organization can get started with these A/B tests. a lot of times we hear about it in the context of a very large organization doing an A/B test, and we think that they have, you know, a lot of resources that and time and people that they can throw at running those A/B tests. But even a small 3-person shop can run an A/B test and get more effective marketing from that. Fantastic. People using social media for posting photos and comments to gain additional clients. Fantastic.
Yeah, and I like that someone here is already doing some A/B program ad
Mm-hmm.
testing, which is so important. Peer-to-peer, I've seen a lot of ad grant, which is great. Um, Perfect.
Fantastic. And for some of you in the presentation today, if you're seeing some of these comments and feeling like maybe you're being left behind because you're not doing these things yet, don't worry. That's why our groups on Facebook and LinkedIn exist, because we can all jump in as a nonprofit community and learn from each other. So again, we'll be sending out those links at the end of the presentation, but those are 2 really great ways of joining together as a nonprofit community to get tips and tricks and best practices from each other.
Definitely. So yeah, so Nick, I was gonna pass it to you just to share a little bit too for those that are on the end of a little bit less resources, like ways that they can even just, move forward and start bringing in more recurring donors, maybe before this program's even fully fleshed out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael. So what you're seeing on this slide on the right-hand side are a few screenshots that we took from a web page that's using our Fundraise Up, what we call elements. And these are components that you can build into your website, whether it's a button or a form, or like Michael described earlier, some of these conversion elements that you can have pop up on your screen or attach to one side of the page or another. We call them elements, and they're ways to engage and then convert your website visitors to donors. And this is where it gets incredibly exciting. And by the way, our platform scales beautifully from a 2-person shop all the way up to an organization like UNICEF. And by the way, UNICEF is using the Fundraise Up platform to boost astronomically the number of donation dollars that they see come through the door. And if you were able to join in early enough in the presentation, you heard me mention that we utilize artificial intelligence and machine learning as part of our platform. And when we hear those terms, you know, they kind of sound like industry jargon maybe, or buzzwords that we hear in the news, but there's so much more than that. There's so much science that's going on behind the scenes to help bring people to the table and to engage them in a way that ultimately leads to them making a donation to your organization. So let me give you a brief example here. So there's an image on your screen right now. You'll see it. It's 3 buttons, a red button with a gift icon to the left, a blue button, and then a gray button underneath it. And this is the view that your donor gets when we use our machine learning and artificial intelligence to encourage them to switch from a one-time gift to a recurring gift. So in a scenario, let's say that I go to my favorite charity today and I'm going to make a $25 one-time gift. Well, our system at Fundraise Up will automatically prompt that person to instead consider becoming a recurring donor. And the reason that's important is because we know that a $10 recurring gift every month at the end of 12 months is going to have a much higher value than the one $25 gift somebody made in November, right? And so we take this opportunity to encourage the donor to switch to this recurring gift program. And we don't do that for every donor because there are some cases where it doesn't make sense, right? If I were to go online and say that I was going to put in a $2,500 gift, well, it wouldn't make much sense to drop me down to a $10 a month gift for that $2,500 one-time gift. So we use our machine learning and artificial intelligence to do it the smart way. And it works. Earlier, Michael shared some stats with you, and he said, you know, you can't refute it because this is based on data, and the data doesn't lie to us. There's no anecdote there. It's just the numbers. And
Yeah.
so,
Oh, sorry. Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, and like not to overly plug Fundraise Up, you guys. Like I definitely like that was the point of this webinar was truly to shape and share what like different types of recurring giving programs, how to launch them. But I like I've been doing this for a while now. I've been a community based for 4.5 years and have not come across a fundraising platform that has it got like had me feel this excited. Like both from the technical aspects of how it tracks and like how it integrates with your marketing campaigns, which I don't know how your experiences have been with your platforms. There's other ones out there that do make it easy too. Fundraise Up makes it extremely easy, but the AI and the learning that it does, and the fact that it's doing testing for us in terms of what amounts is it offering, how is it framing the different kinds of impact for us who build a lot of landing pages for our clients, or for those of you out there who, you know, you're constricted to constraints on how your donation form can look and feel because of the platform. They take care of that too. And then also just in terms of their pricing. I mean, I don't think talking through that, I don't know if we're going to get on that today, but like, it's just, there's so many things that we love about it here. I do just want to share too, like this nonprofit that we have worked with now for 2.5 years, the International Community Foundation. We ran I actually ran a campaign with them last year. From August through, the campaign was about through December, when the migrant caravan reached Tijuana and there was thousands, tens of thousands of people who had nowhere to go. We ran a campaign that had no recurring giving ask. It wasn't a recurring giving campaign. We didn't even ask people to give recurring whatsoever in it. And during that time, they switched over to Fundraise Up. They had basically 0 recurring donors. It just, they had never figured out how to tell that story as a foundation who supports so many other nonprofits on why give to them monthly. And so during the campaign, they brought in 56 recurring donors just literally from making donation appeals for this one problem. And they're still sitting at $2,800 per month, purely literally from just being on Fundraise Up. And that's, they have an 82% retention rate. Because Fundraise Up does do these emails that kind of keep the support going month over month, even when your team is a bit smaller and can't do that stewardship themselves. So.
Exactly. And here's why it matters. We did a study on 4,300 transactions, and we looked at how the donor interacted with the donation checkout experience and how they were presented with the opportunity to make a one-time gift. And we found that if they had gone with their one-time gift over, actually just with, if we take all those donors, their total value would have equaled $234,000 if they had stuck with their one-time gift. But because we had the opportunity and the technology to intelligently ask them to switch to a recurring gift, we saw a huge difference. So $234,000 would have been the value if all of these donors had just made a one-time gift. But because they switched over to a recurring gift, 12 months later, the new value is $882,000. And that doesn't require any of our organizations to do anything. They don't have to write a new appeal email. They don't have to pick up the phone in this case. By simply automatically encouraging people to switch over to a recurring gift, we see that value that Michael talked about early on in the slides. We see the donor's lifetime value shoot through the roof. Now, I do see that somebody in the comments posted, we use Fundraise Up. Is the AI an additional service? We're using the basic service right now. Well, here's some good news. At Fundraise Up, we don't believe in sticking you into a tier of plans, because far too often we see that those aren't effective for your growth as a nonprofit. We want to make sure that you have everything that you need to succeed in your mission. So all we do is offer one pricing structure, and it's just a small percentage of your processing fees, and you get everything. You get the artificial intelligence, you get the machine learning, you get all of the elements. And so, Julia, thank you for that comment in there. I know you also mentioned on here that you're not sure if the AI is turned on. So let's do this. After the webinar, let me connect with you via email. And so what you can do is in your chat, you can direct a comment specifically to me. and just drop your email in there and I will follow up with you and we'll jump into your account and make sure that all of the features are enabled and that everything's functioning the way it should be. Thank you for dropping that in there in the chat, because we do want to take incredible care of our existing customers, and also we take great care of those who want to jump onto the platform as well.
Awesome, you guys. Well, thanks for sitting through that. Like, truthfully, would not have made sure we talked as much about this platform if a Community Boost 2 we didn't believe it was like really a great solution for many nonprofits looking to build even just recurring donors without a program, but especially if you're looking to launch a program. But anyway, so kind of quickly recapping, remembering our tips to like build, launch, market, and scale. Picking the scope. So what resources do you have today? Keeping in mind that getting to that robust charities water spring level program is where we want to go. Telling the right story, making it easy to give, thinking through the tech, tearing out your campaign, using tools that'll help you succeed, and then marketing where it matters, building the right traction channels. And we're both, Fundraise Up and Community Boost, literally exist to empower social ventures and nonprofits like yourselves. We do free one-to-one digital strategy sessions at Community Boost all day, every day. We have a team committed to doing that, to talk through your organization's specific story and how you could like gain more traction on a recurring giving program. And then of course, Fundraise Up offers demos, and their support is the best support I've ever had, working with like clients and then a fundraising software. It's like bar none. So I do want to open it up to questions. Here, if you guys do want to connect specifically with Community Boost, there's a link for you there. But we've had some questions come in and want to make sure we have some time to hit them. Recording will absolutely be shared with participants, is one of the first questions. We also got that earlier. And yes, it'll be sent out in the email to whatever email you entered in for this webinar. Someone else asked that, which is great. The benchmark for a successful conversion. How many monthly donors is Fundraise Up converting across the industry?
I'll have to get back to you with the exact figures. Our data team will have those available. So punch those into the comments as well. And also, if after the presentation you have questions that you come up with, I'll respond to those via email so we can get you those. What we do see is incredible performance just by using a product that's based on machine learning and artificial intelligence. And one of the areas where sometimes there'll be pushback from people is actually with the ability to cover processing fees. And it's something that, we're all familiar with. A giving form will say, hey, give, a few more cents or a few more dollars, and that will cover our processing fees. We've poured a lot of time and a lot of effort into crafting that experience to be the highest converting processing fee checkbox that you can get. And so our Fundraise Up customers see 93% of donors covering those fees. And the beauty in that is not only that they're covering your organization's credit card processing fees, they're also covering that small percentage platform fee. So at the end of the day, you almost end up with a free product that gets you incredible value for your recurring donation program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can at least start to address this last one. And guys, I think we'll have a little bit of extra time. So if anyone has any questions, whether it's about either, Community Boost Fundraise Up, any of the content on this, questions about the different traction channels, like, setting up your recurring giving program, please share them now. We'll be happy to address them. So this one is, as channels like, I'm not sure what TM stands for, becoming increasingly obsolete and face-to-face not being an option given the current health crisis, is there a feeling that Fundraise Up technology telemarketing, thank you, can make up the difference lost with these channels, assuming you market your org correctly? I can start that, and then, maybe there'll be more to add, but I think third-party reference here, without doing the specific math of your, anyone who's asking this question on behalf of their organization, we've seen a huge lift for our partners that are using Fundraise Up in recurring donations during these times where, marketing is some of the more traditional ways that we have our playbooks structured around are tougher to execute. Yeah, I mean, I think that slide where we showed the, the campaign that was run last year called Hope for the Border, and the number of recurring donors we brought in without even trying, to me speaks for itself, and is one of the main reasons that, I do recommend Fundraise Up mostly across the board. So I'd say, as a blanket answer to your question, just yes. With the techniques focused on social media, do you suggest in-person or phone? In other words, traditional contact for older age donors? Yeah, Julie. So a kind of a good rule of thumb is the more personal you can have contact touch points be with people. So it's kind of like this meeting of scale. It's like your resources and how much you have, as well as like the prominence of those donors that you're looking to touch and to communicate with, right? So in a perfect world, we would be able to call every donor that we work with and talk to them about the impact that's being made, make sure that you feel comfortable to continue giving, things like that. But for those that are less likely to see our messages on social, for those that are less likely to open their emails or to even see our YouTube display ads, whatever it is, those phone calls are almost your only way to reach those people, right? So if you have a camp of donors who do matter a lot to the rollout of this giving program, calling them is probably your best bet. And then even if there are those donors who probably will see your emails and your social, but they matter a lot in the context of building this program and scaling it, calling them is still a good idea as well.
Absolutely. And one of the important factors for some of these audiences that might be a little older and aren't as familiar with some of the new ways in which we communicate is to create a frictionless process for that donation to occur. And so what we found is we do see older people making online gifts. And the important thing to do there with any program that you have, and whether it's using Fundraise Up or another piece of software, is to ensure that you've removed as much confusion from that giving process as possible. And in that way, even some of these newer ways of giving can work well for your older audiences.
Awesome. And then I'm just going to share one more poll just to get a pulse of the room, just gauging if anyone's interested in a one-to-one strategy session to talk more about specifically building a recurring giving program or a demo with the Fundraise Up platform. That this will just make sure that if there are people out there, we definitely get in touch. And so I'll leave that poll up for people to fill out while we kind of touch on one of these last questions, which is there a technique to expanding your Google ads to recurring giving? Any keywords to add to existing ads? So when we think, this is a bigger conversation for sure, but when we think about search marketing, right, which is what Google Ads is, well, Google Ads is also display on YouTube, but in the context of keywords and search, we have to think about what are people searching for in the first place, right? So like putting ourselves in those shoes, right? Searching for a recurring giving program. Like if I was to go to Google and say, hey, Google, I all of a sudden am passionate about X, show me a recurring giving program that satisfies that desire. That just isn't something that people are searching for very often. And I don't mean to be cynical, but from what I've seen over the years, there's not a whole lot of people looking to donate for the first time to a new nonprofit that isn't generated by something in the media, nonprofits that are supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, or fighting on those fronts are receiving a lot of natural attention right now. Nonprofits that were supporting COVID, frontline workers at the beginning of it. I mean, that's still, the support is still happening there too, but there was an explosion there. So the short answer is there's no real keywords to add to directly influence recurring giving. It's about building ways for people to connect with your nonprofit through Google Ads, usually through like information or answering questions that they might have, and then thinking through how we're going to continue to nurture those people that have been to our website. So I know that was like a pretty general answer, but I really encourage whoever asked that question, follow up with our team and we will help put more clarity behind it. And even if it's like we end up not working together, we will leave you with ideas of how you can change your ad grant account to be more effective. Promise. Cool. Awesome. Thanks for everyone who chose to fill out that poll. We are a little bit over time. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of everyone here at Community Boost for showing up and taking an hour out of your day to learn about how you can seriously scale and move the needle at your nonprofit.
Absolutely. And thank you from everybody here at Fundraise Up for joining us today. We are so honored to get to work with partners like Community Boost because we recognize that so many nonprofits don't have all the tools they need to maximize the performance of their online forms. So we partner with Community Boost so that you can get access to everything that you need. So there's a link on the screen right now. Schedule a one-to-one strategy session with them, communityboost.org/let's talk. I highly recommend that you get on their calendar and you will be on your way to getting a really phenomenal recurring giving program.
Awesome. I'm going to close it up now, but thank you guys so much. Hope we get a chance to connect and have an awesome rest of your Tuesday. Take care, guys.
Until next time, everyone.